What would life be like without money? That's a question that may seem absurd at first, considering the pivotal role money plays in our day-to-day lives, but it's a question worth pondering. After all, money, in its various forms, is a relatively recent invention in the grand scheme of human history. Money is a facilitator, a bridge that connects our needs and wants with the goods and services that satisfy them. Without money, we'd be thrust back into the era of barter, where goods were traded directly for other goods. Imagine needing a loaf of bread and having to find a baker who just happens to need the exact item you have to trade. Money simplifies this process, allowing us to trade goods and services indirectly and more efficiently. However, before we had the convenience of money, humanity relied on some curious alternatives. From the seashells of the ancient Chinese to the huge stone discs of the Yap Islanders, what we've used as money has been as diverse as the cultures that created them. Precious metals, salt, grain, even cigarettes and vodka have all served as mediums of exchange at some point in history. And it's not just physical objects. Money can also be nothing more than a promise, a piece of paper, or numbers on a screen. This is the essence of credit, the promise to pay back later. This form of money has become increasingly dominant in our digital age, so why do we continue to believe in money, especially when it can literally be nothing? It's because we trust in its value and the system that upholds it. We trust that others will accept it in exchange for goods and services. We trust that it will hold its value over time, allowing us to save for the future. In God, some of us trust, but in money, we all do. It's an intriguing thought, isn't it? How a concept so abstract can hold such concrete power over our lives. Money, in its various forms, has been a cornerstone of human civilization. Money wasn't always the paper and coins we know today. It's hard to imagine, but there was a time when money, as we understand it, didn't exist. Let's travel back in time, to a period when barter was the primary mode of exchange. People traded goods they had for goods they needed. Imagine exchanging a basket of apples for a pair of shoes. But the barter system had its limitations. What if the person with the shoes didn't want apples? This led to the introduction of commodity money, tangible objects that had value in themselves as well as value in their use as money. Shells, salt, grain, even cattle and other livestock served as early forms of money. They were easily recognizable, had intrinsic value, and were relatively easy to carry around. But they too were not without their problems. They were perishable, their value could fluctuate, and they were not always easy to divide. Then came the invention of coinage. In ancient Lydia, around 600 BC, these coins were made from a mixture of silver and gold and were stamped with pictures to certify their authenticity. This was a significant step forward, as coins were durable, easily transportable, and their value was easy to determine. Fast forward to the 17th century, and paper money began to appear, first in China and then in Europe. Paper money was more convenient and safer to carry around than large amounts of coins, but it was backed by gold or silver, stored in a vault somewhere. Then came the 20th century, a period of rapid change. The gold standard was abandoned, and money became fiat money, backed by the full faith and credit of the government that issued it. And now, in the 21st century, we're witnessing the rise of digital currencies like Bitcoin, which exists solely in electronic form. Despite its many transformations, the essence of money has remained the same. It's a medium of exchange, a measure of value, and a store of wealth. Whether it's shells or digital bits, money continues to rule the world. Imagine trading a cow for a bag of grain. This was the reality before money. In a world without money, things were a bit more complicated. This system, known as bartering, was the first form of trade, and it's been with us since the dawn of civilization. Imagine for a moment living in a world where you had to exchange your goods or services directly for someone else's. You're a baker, but you need a new pair of shoes. You'd have to find a shoemaker who wants your bread. Now this is where the complications arise. How many loaves of bread equates to a pair of shoes? Furthermore, what if the shoemaker doesn't want your bread? The barter system was fraught with these challenges. Enter the concept of money, a universal medium of exchange that solved these problems. With money, the baker could sell his bread to anyone who wanted it, not just the shoemaker. He could then use the money he earned to buy shoes or anything else for that matter. Money established a standard measure of value, making trade more straightforward and efficient. But money didn't just appear overnight. It evolved gradually over thousands of years. From shells and stones to precious metals, societies around the world developed different forms of money. Most early forms of money had intrinsic value. That is, they were valuable in and of themselves. Gold, for example, was used because it was rare and hard to find. Then, around the 7th century, the Chinese made a revolutionary leap. They started using paper money, or banknotes. These banknotes didn't have intrinsic value. Their worth came from the trust people had in the issuing authority. This was a game changer. Banknotes were light, easy to carry, and they could represent any value. From the barter system to banknotes, the evolution of money is a fascinating journey. It's a testament to our ability to innovate and adapt, and it's a story that continues to unfold in our digital age. Money has made trading goods and services much simpler. And who knows what the future of money holds? Money holds power, but why? It's a question that has puzzled philosophers and economists alike for centuries. Money in itself is a tool. A piece of paper, a digital number, a metal coin, these are all just physical representations of a concept. Yet, this concept governs our lives in more ways than we often acknowledge. Let's delve into the societal, political, and economic influence of money. In society, money often defines the stratification of individuals. It creates a divide between wealth and poverty, the haves and the have-nots. It's a tool that can grant access to better education, healthcare, and opportunities. It can empower individuals, giving them the freedom to make choices and shape their own lives. In politics, money plays an undeniable role. It funds campaigns, sways public opinion, and even influences policy decisions. It's been said that money is the mother's milk of politics. It nourishes political ambitions, fuels political machinery, and in some instances, even corrupts the very essence of democracy. In economics, money is the lifeblood that keeps the system functioning. It facilitates trade, stimulating economic growth and development. It's a measure of value, a store of wealth, and a medium of exchange. It's the oil that keeps the gears of the global economy turning smoothly. But why does money hold such power? The answer lies in our collective belief in its value. We trust that the piece of paper or digital number we hold will be accepted by others in exchange for goods and services. This trust, this belief is what gives money its power. It's a shared illusion, a societal consensus that we all adhere to. Money, therefore, is not just a physical entity, it's a symbol, a representation of value and trust. It's a social construct that we've collectively agreed upon. The power of money, then, isn't inherent in the coin or the banknote, but in us, the people who believe in its value. Money's power comes from our belief in its value. It's a simple statement, but one that encapsulates the complex and profound influence money has on our lives. What does the future hold for money? This is a question that has been asked time and again, and as we stand on the precipice of a new era, it becomes all the more relevant. As we look forward, we see an exciting, albeit uncertain, landscape. A landscape where the tangible and intangible converge, giving birth to a new form of currency, the digital currency. Cryptocurrencies, a type of digital currency, have been making waves, leading the charge towards a cashless future. Bitcoin, the pioneer of this revolution, has shown us that money can exist independently of governments and traditional banking systems. These digital currencies operate on blockchain technology, providing a decentralized, secure, and transparent system for transactions. But cryptocurrencies are just the tip of the iceberg. In the not-too-distant future, we might see the rise of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. These are digital forms of a country's fiat currency issued and regulated by the central bank. This transition to digital currencies could have profound implications. For one, it could democratize financial systems, providing access to those who have been historically unbanked or underbanked. It could also enable faster, cheaper, and more efficient cross-border transactions. But it's not all rosy. The shift to digital could exacerbate existing inequalities and create new ones. It could give rise to new forms of financial crime and make it easier for illicit activities to go undetected. Moreover, it presents new challenges in terms of privacy and security. So, what does this mean for us? As we navigate this brave new world, we must be mindful of these potential pitfalls and opportunities. We must strive to harness the power of these new forms of money to create a more inclusive and equitable financial system. As we step into the future, we must remember that money, in whatever form it takes, is a tool to facilitate exchange, to measure value, to store wealth. Money may change, but its role in our lives remains constant.